Alright, so at this point in the series, Marvel was literally digging to the deepest of the deep, and they were pulling out the weirdest of the weird for this. I mean, God, so much so that they put Howard the fucking Duck in the post-credits. That level of weird. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to yet another brand new movie review. And as always, I thank you all so much for stopping by, and I hope you enjoy your stay. And welcome back to the Marvel Studios playlist, y'all. We are chugging right along, all in the hype up to the release of Black Widow, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and so forth. In case you miss it, I just reviewed what is still one of the MCU's strongest entries right here on the channel, Captain America the Winter Soldier. That one was a really fun one to look back on and review for you guys. In case you miss it, I'll go ahead and leave a link to that right at the end card. But this time around, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited because we're going to be taking a look at one of my personal favorite entries into this entire universe, Guardians of the Galaxy. This one was, of course, written and directed by the one and only James Gunn, and it stars Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Bradley Cooper, Vin Diesel, and also former World Heavyweight Champion Bautista himself. Brash space adventurer and Earthborn Peter Quill, played by Chris Pratt, famous for Parks and Rec at the time, steals an orb coveted by Ronan the Accuser, played by Lee Pace. And Ronan is a powerful being who wants the orb, all to obtain the power of the Energy Stone. And to evade Ronan, Quill is forced into an uneasy alliance with quite the motley crew of 4 misfits, including machine gun wielding genetically enhanced Rocket Raccoon, voiced by Bradley Cooper, tree-like humanoid Groot, voiced by Vin Diesel, enigmatic warrior princess Gamora, played by Zoe Saldana, and vengeance-driven Drax the Destroyer, played by Dave Bautista. And when Quill discovers the orb's true power and the cosmic threat it poses, he must rally his ragtag group in order to save the universe. And just in case you're new here, as far as all of my Marvel content goes, this video will contain some spoilers. So just in case you've never seen Guardians of the Galaxy, feel free to pause the video right here, go check the movie out, and then come right back. We'll talk about it in a lot more detail. But you've been fairly warned at this point, let's begin. I think I should honestly preface this review by telling you guys a little bit of a personal story. And if nothing else has already, this will in fact reveal my age to everybody, but I mean, f*** it. For this story, I have to. I'm 24. I said in my review for The Winter Soldier that it was that movie as well as Guardians of the Galaxy that really sparked my interest and geekdom in this Marvel universe, and it really kick-started this fandom full throttle. And this film came out right at the beginning of my senior year of high school. And every time I'm walking down the hall in one direction, every time I'm walking into, I don't know, my civics class or my stagecrafts class, if I'm just hanging out with all of my drama club friends at lunchtime, and I mean everywhere, this is usually what I heard. Yes, the incantations uttered at the beginning of Hooked on a Feeling were resonant at my high school. And sure enough, everyone was talking about this film for the first few weeks of my senior year, and for good reason. Guardians of the Galaxy is fucking great. And you know what the most remarkable thing about that was? Nobody was expecting Guardians of the Galaxy to be as great as it was. Nobody was expecting it to be as fun or as hilarious as it was. And alas, here we are. Now let's first talk about James Gunn for a little bit, because he wrote and directed the out of this movie. This is some of the best banter and some of the funniest insults between a set of main characters I've ever heard in my life. Even these side characters get some memorable stuff written in for them. The movie is so relentless in entertaining you, and its sense of humor is apparent. I couldn't even tell you guys how many times I've rewatched Guardians of the Galaxy since it first released back in August of 2014, but no matter how many times I've watched it, or no matter what number I gave you guys, even on this rewatch that I had recently, I still laugh uncontrollably throughout this entire 2-hour runtime. I mean, it's really amazing what this film was able to accomplish. And I mentioned it briefly already talking about Hooked on a Feeling, but the soundtrack choices are perfect. Absolutely wonderful lists and perfectly chosen songs for any given moment. Of course, Hooked on a Feeling is the one I remember the most, but you also have Ain't No Mountain High Enough at the very end, and the opening credits. Oh my gosh, these are some of my favorite opening titles of all time. I know this film came out a few years after this, but rewatching the opening credits especially, it reminded me a lot of Baby Driver. Just in the way it was helmed, directed, and edited together, perfectly in tune with the song they chose, which of course was Come and Get Your Love. This movie is just groovy. Yeah, I used that word in a sentence in the year 2021, and I don't give a damn if I do it again, guys. Guardians of the Galaxy is fucking groovy. This movie is not only entertaining and, yes, I'll use it again, groovy in nature, but it's also just so beautiful to behold. Guardians Volume 1 is a gorgeous looking movie. It's all shot really well, these special effects, and the CGI and the makeup. I feel all of these elements opened up a whole new set of doors for the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole. This and The Winter Soldier, both released in 2014. I feel like both of them were the perfect indicators to us back then as to what the future of the MCU was gonna look like and feel like. And as we're all aware by this point in time, the future is now. Now, I would be remiss if I were to completely leave out talking about all these performances in this film. They're all fantastic, from top to bottom. Chris Pratt is fabulous as Peter Quill / Star-Lord. Incredibly charismatic, very witty when he needs to be. Is almost like a junior Han Solo in a lot of ways. And I've also got to give Chris Pratt a lot of credit where it's due. I really commend him for all the work he put in before shooting of this film even started. Mainly to get in the shape he did for this film. He looks awesome. He's phenomenal in the action sequences too. Which, while I'm at it, these fight scenes are extremely fun. Almost swashbuckling scenes in a lot of ways. I love the fight on Xandar for the orb. I love the fight in the prison maybe even more. And I love the climax. It's all great. We also have Zoe Saldana as Gamora in this film, coming right off the success of Avatar. Basically, except she's painted green this time. And she's a really intriguing character in a lot of ways. She definitely feels stuck with this group at first, because if you remember, she was initially working with her adopted father Thanos, trying to get him the orb. But it is such a great slow building reversal as she grows more accustomed to this group. I've also got to take a minute to talk about freaking Bautista, man. This guy, honestly guys, he was the best new wrestler turned actor since The Rock spurred onto the Hollywood scene in 2001. Bautista absolutely kills it as Drax, and I would honestly argue he's the most interesting character in this first film, because you'll remember he does have a little bit of extra push and motivation to go after Ronan specifically. You know, seeing as how he slaughtered Drax's family and all. And Bautista not only does really well with the serious moments in this film, but he can also be really funny. I mean, Drax is a big 280-pound freak of nature who kicks ass, but he takes every statement literally. No concept whatsoever of what sarcasm even is. I mean... That's a great gimmick, guys. Vin Diesel as Groot. This is my mom's favorite character in this whole universe, and... for good reason. James Gunn, you got me here. Groot is freaking adorable. I mean, come on. This is a big talking tree that only knows 3 words. Well, he don't know talking good like me and you. So his vocabularistics is just limited to I and am and Groot. Exclusively in that order. This character really shouldn't work, but he does. And he's great. And he's probably the most emotional aspect of this entire movie, if I'm being honest. I briefly quoted him. I saved him for last. Rocket Raccoon. Speaking of characters that shouldn't work, everybody going in thought he was going to be the most annoying thing about this film. But turns out, lo and behold, I don't know how, but Rocket is my favorite out of all of them. I'm serious. Rocket is just f***ing amazing. I mean, this is a raccoon obsessed with stealing people's artificial limbs for no reason other than pranking them, which isn't cool in real life. Don't actually do that, please. And he's rocking a damn machine gun. Oh, yeah. Now, Bradley Cooper voices Rocket Raccoon here, and honestly, just listening to his voice inflections and having no clue who it is, Bradley Cooper is probably one of the last people you would have guessed. I mean, just goes to show you how talented the man is. I mean, there's a lot I'm really neglecting to mention here because there's just so much goodness within this film. Benicio del Toro as the Collector is a really fun bit part showcasing his legendary acting ability. Karen Gillan debuts as Nebula in this film, and she's very good for the time she's given. Michael Rooker, one of my favorite actors from when I watched The Walking Dead, appears here as Yondu Udonta, and he's such a neat character also. Great dynamic between him and Chris Pratt in this. I mean, I could go on for days. I obviously love the Guardians of the Galaxy. I adore this film to death. Easily one of the most fun, hilarious entries into this universe with such a smart script, as I've mentioned. But I do have one key issue with this film that ultimately holds it back, and you probably know what it is. Ronan as a villain is pretty plain. Now, don't get me wrong. Lee Pace, I think, is extremely good in the film. There are times where he can be very menacing, and yeah, I will admit, his makeup is pretty darn cool. But his motivation and his dialogue is just so boring and forgettable in the grand scheme of things. And on a rewatch, that's even more upsetting because he's in an alliance with Thanos, played by Josh Brolin, who, yeah, we'll definitely get to later. Thanos is undisputedly the most interesting villain that the MCU has given us through 23 films. But instead we get more Ronan here. Now, I understand that you gotta use more movies in order to build up Thanos even more as a big threat for the Avengers to eventually take down. But just for the purposes of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, just humor me for a second. Imagine if you're watching, I don't know, Empire Strikes Back, or Return of the Jedi even. Darth Vader, as you know, is the main antagonist in both of those films, and he is unarguably one of the most iconic villains in cinema history. Just so much depth, intrigue, and mystique to that guy. But imagine if the scripts for Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi were both written so that Palpatine is more interesting than Vader. I mean, nothing against Palpatine at all. I love that character. But let's face it, he's not the main antagonist of the original trilogy. Vader was and should have been the main villain, and that's what they did, and I've got no problem with it. Guardians basically shows you what that dynamic would look like if Vader were still the main villain, but Palpatine was the more interesting character. In this case, Ronan equals Vader, and Thanos equals Palpatine. Thanos, I think, is easily a lot more interesting than Ronan is, but yet Ronan is the one that's fighting the Guardians throughout this flick, and I felt it, man. In short, Ronan is like the less interesting version of Darth Vader. But despite that issue, Guardians is still one of my personal favorite Marvel films. It's one I could rewatch over and over again and it would never get old. I'm so excited to continue to rewatch this film years and years down the line. I'm gonna give Guardians of the Galaxy an A. This is the pure definition of comic book fun, which in a sense is what comic books and their movie adaptations are all about. I highly recommend this film to any of my viewers who have never seen it, even for those of you who aren't even Marvel fans. I think you'll get a real kick out of it. I mean, just look at my parents. They love Guardians of the Galaxy, both of those films, and they're not even into the universe. But they keep going back to those movies because they love the characters. But do you guys agree with me about Guardians of the Galaxy? Do you not? Who do you think is the funniest character in the entire MCU? I would love to discuss all of these topics and then some further with y'all, all down there in the comments. Let's debate all of this stuff further, shall we? Respectfully, of course. But if you guys are enjoying my videos, if you guys are looking for a place to continue discussing cinema and all things entertainment, all things geeky stuff, all things Marvel, I think this channel might be the one for you. So if any of my viewers are new here, or if you haven't already, please definitely consider hitting that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can. If you beautiful subscribers click that button, you guys will be the first ones to know anytime I upload a new video over here. And it's also free. It'll be our little secret. And if you guys enjoyed this review, also, if you guys want to continue talking Marvel over here on the channel, definitely let me know by clicking that thumbs up button on your way out. I'd really appreciate that. And as always, look out for more exciting content hitting my channel very, very soon, including the very next entry into the Marvel playlist. We're gonna look at Avengers Age of Ultron. Oh boy, already at another Avengers crossover. Man, time flies when you're having fun. But thank you all so much for tuning into the video, and I really do appreciate all the support you've given me on this channel so far. It really does mean the world. You guys are awesome. With all that being said, back talk, commence!